pay for what they have done to the entire
Well,
world.
we're going to see. What China did is a terrible thing. Whether it was incompetence or on purpose, it was a terrible thing that they did to the world. Not only to the United States, but to the world. A terrible thing.
Everyone who sees the president is tested. So I was tested. I went from there to the airport. And when I got to the airport, found out shortly thereafter that I had tested positive. So that was a big surprise. Obviously could not see the president, could not greet the president. It had been my intention to be there to greet him when he flew into Cleveland. But, you know, I feel fine, have a headache, but, you know, I get a lot of headaches throughout my life, so a headache is not anything that unusual. So besides that, I feel well.
有关的企业按照市场原则和国际规则，在美开展商业活动，遵守美国的法律法规。美方借口国家安全，频繁滥用国家力量，无理打压非美国企业，这是赤裸裸的霸权行径。我们敦促美方认真倾听美国国内和国际社会的理性声音，纠正错误做法，不要将经济问题政治化。 停止打压有关企业，为各国企业正常经营投资提供公平、公正、非歧视性的环境。
And it might be easy just to assume that this app is harmless. Music videos, diverting fun. But let me assure you, the security concerns surrounding TikTok are real and not lighthearted in the least. TikTok is currently a major security risk, both to our data security and to our national security. ByteDance, which is TikTok's parent corporation, is based in Beijing. And we all know that Chinese corporations and the Chinese Communist Party are in many ways the same thing. In fact, China's national intelligence law requires it to be so. ByteDance, as a Chinese company, is obligated to collaborate with Chinese intelligence services, including by sharing data. In fact, all of the data that TikTok and ByteDance collect, and they collect a lot of data, can be routed at a moment's notice to the Chinese Communist Party.
The Wall Street Journal out with an exclusive report saying that Saudi Arabia has expanded its nuclear program with the help of China. Joining me right now is Presidential Envoy for Arms Control, Ambassador.
What's key here, Maria, is to recognize that the companies that the Saudis are doing business with in China are state-owned enterprises, and those very companies are the same ones involved in China's massive nuclear buildup, its nuclear weapons crash program. And that's I think, of great concern. It's essential that we do not see a destabilizing nuclear arms race emerge, particularly in Asia. And unfortunately, the Chinese are taking us there. But most concerning is what China is doing itself. Like with the coronavirus, China is throwing up a great wall of secrecy to the world regarding its nuclear buildup. In the last segment, you mentioned the Global Times, which is the Chinese Communist Party's mouthpiece. And nothing is written from an editorial standpoint in that paper that isn't sanctioned at the highest levels of the Chinese government. That newspaper, just a few months ago, called for China to have 1,000 deployed nuclear warheads. Just for comparison, the United States and Russia, under the New START Treaty, have limited themselves to 1,500 warheads. So we are talking about a really alarming and secretive buildup by the Chinese Communist Party under Chairman Xi.
Wow, this is very concerning. And I know that the Global Times is an asset of the CCP because of the way they report things. In the middle of the pandemic, the Global Times comes out with a report saying, well, maybe we should question whether or not China should export prescription drugs. If the United States wants to keep poking General Xi about tariffs. So pretty much what the CCP wants the world to know, they do it through the Global Times. And so
that's right.
I'll be watching to see what they report on the nuclear situation as well.
迄今为止，美国的国务卿、国防部长、财长、司法部长这4个分量最重的内阁成员，都还没有在任内访问过台湾。但美方的对台关系在往前拱，这个拱的过程是严重挑衅，是向中方搞地缘政治施压。美方一边挑衅着，一边呢有他怂的一面。他要真有本事，真敢玩大的，他就断然与台湾建交，与北京断交好了。他敢吗？大陆的牌很多，包括军事牌，而且呢，很重要的一点是，我们在关键时刻出牌的意志会。
一去不能造海选，全部造封了，封闭了。
房屋仍在洪水中，这是谁家新建的房屋呢？同大镇张墩小学，只有屋顶和国旗露出水面。
原来草坪都是这么变绿的，不是长绿的。这么一喷，哎呦我的娘啊，全绿了。
警察打人了！你看农民工要不到工资，警察打人。人民要不到工资，警察还打人，这是警察吗？
那就是几个上来一步，别动！我怎么动？咱们说一句。
你看这些警察是人吗？简直不是人，这些警察。
没办，警察，没办。
你看这些警察是不是人啊？
道歉。上课。
这些警察是不是人啊？这些警察简直不是人，知道吗？
你不要这样哦！你看一下这暴力执法，大家看一下这些暴力执法了。
这滚打人了！好了，等等。
这土匪，妈的个臭逼！这是土匪。
他们那个交警打老人家哎，他打老人家哎，人民的好警察呀，引起军备呢，打老人家哎，那不是谁？操你妈的！就打个共产党，打个共产党！我要6时间，你不能把我赶到其他地方去打我，你操你妈的！
全线都是，全线。
妈，你他干什么的？咱们看个光。
哦，部队的，你们是干什么的？为什么要抓我？你们是什么部队？为什么要抓我？你
我们是在警车，
为什么要抓我？
绝对不！
你为什么要抓我？
不是拿到派出所。
你为什么要抓我？我犯了什么法了？我犯什么法了？
我听不了。
为什么我现在就在这里？为什么？为什么？为什么？为什么？我为什么不来？你们谁让我的？
一名被关押的维吾尔人当时正被囚禁在一个房间里，右手拿摄像器材，左手则被手铐锁在床架上。报道说，画面的主角是麦尔丹，他在新疆艺术学院主修舞蹈，毕业后和其他新疆青年一样，为了寻找一个中国梦，在2009年前往沿海城市发展。麦尔丹在广东佛山成为淘宝的服装模特，每天收入可观，事业做得有声有色。公司要求他隐瞒维族身份，并对外宣传他是中欧混血儿。2018年，中共当局在新疆以再教育的名义快速兴建集中营。同年8月，麦尔丹也遭到迫害，他被控贩售大麻，遭判刑16个月。朋友坚称他是遭到诬陷。
And I realize I may be the only one who can tell this truth to the world, but I really cannot tell it in Hong Kong. Once I stand out, I will get disappeared. You know nothing. I heard that WHO, and I mean, from the internal information, I'm sure there are some WHO consultants like Malik Paris. They have been to Wuhan, and this is not published. But what I also know is China government don't tell people the truth about what really happened in Wuhan. For example, WHO experts go to Wuhan and they may not get a chance to go to the lab. There may be the virus come from, I mean, could to anyone's question, right? And also they are not allowed to get samples from the Wuhan Huanan seafood market. These are done by the local expert organized by CCP government. So based on this, WHO expert can get their own conclusion. But why do they only rely on the evidence CCP government gives them? That's also another question people should ask. What we have to say is WHO behavior in this COVID-19 pandemic include lies and collaborate with CCP government, and also later misleading information like they say it's not pandemic, no point to keep China isolated, I mean, travel ban, right? And also no point to wear masks, and no point to take the hydroxychloroquine and all these things. I mean, WHO have done more than I thought in this crisis. Why do they do that? Why do they help CCP government? It's back to that question. Only they can answer the motive.
Is there, in your opinion, a political will to underreport? Right. That's the allegation. That's what the data that we've seen suggests. Like they're grossly underreporting. But that's why I want to get your perspective on that.
Based on the diagnostic cases, what I know is definitely the real death rate is higher, much higher than what they reported, because as what we have studied in even influenza study, I mean, Chinese government use another way to judge the death cases. It's not like in US and other country, you get infected, you go to hospital, and then somehow you passed away due to even complications or other things induced, other problems induced by this infection. Then you are counted as a death case of COVID-19. Now in China, it's like this, what I know, they even can give these people some ventilation and other life support until they get twice test for negative of your result in mouse, I mean, using the swab sample. And then after that, they can remove the ventilation and say, oh, he died, but he's not died of COVID-19.
Do doctors in China know that there's been a kind of cover-up and the reporting is inconclusive around the coronavirus?
Not only doctors, even the common people know, especially back to the early beginning. They know that they're unfair. Especially before I review it through this media, the YouTube media, and our government has to change their statement to human transmission exists and claim there are more cases happen outside Wuhan. Before that, our government leaves those patients without result in the common ward in hospital, and doctors, patients' relatives has no any protection, and they are all unfair, and also government don't allow them to talk about it. And also later, when there are other measurements, like you cannot publish paper without censorship, the articles, and you cannot do some kind of treatment, you have to follow up the guidance, like using some kind of Chinese medicine they recommended. So these are all the things they know, but I have to say that not because they don't want to tell truth. I mean, there are some doctors and group of people, professional people, they really want to tell it, but consider the situation back to China, like you see the Hong Kong, the state security law, this kind of pressure, they have no way to tell it. And if they tell it, they have to face to huge loss in their life. You cannot expect everyone try to do such things that take a lot of courage. So they know it, and many people, more people as you saw, know it, but they cannot even talk it in public. I think everyone deserves to know the truth, and everyone get involved, your health, your economic, your life. So we should come back to the one who initiated this outbreak, I mean CCP government, ask them to be accountable.